So this morning, pretty early, before I had any coffee or anything, I saw an email about the new effort by the so-called, Emergency Committee for Israel, which is a neocon outfit, basically a neocon version of the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League scams run by Bill Kristol, big neocon, son of the original neocon, Irving Kristol. And it's a complete scam. They're basically using funds donated by people genuinely concerned about Israel and its safety to run horrible, disgusting anti-Donald Trump ads. Bill Kristol, of course, is very much tied in with the Republican establishment, yada yada. Well, I made a video, which I'll link to below, that was kind of amateurish. It's me. I'm not that great at this stuff. But I said what I thought needed to be said before anyone else was saying it this morning. But I also brought it to the attention of a colleague of mine who's much smarter than I am and much better at this than I am, and probably smarter and savvier than you are. A Jewish guy who actually observes Judaism, as I try to, keeps kosher, keeps Shabbos, unlike Bill Kristol and most of the neocons, at least the Jewish ones. And he has just written something about it. I'm talking, of course, about David Goldman, and he just came out with an article, which I just saw. So crank this out in a couple hours. It's in Asia Times, and it's called Note to Conspiracy Theorists, the Neoconservatives Aren't Zionists. And I'm probably just going to end up reading right through this because I rarely need to explain anything. David Goldman's that good. You should be subscribing to his stuff. So let me read you what he just came out with. Again, it's by David P. Goldman. That's a common enough name that he uses the P. And it's called Note to Conspiracy Theorists, the Neoconservatives Aren't Zionists. And it's in Asia Times, atimes.com. Here we go. And I will interject, but I'll use a different voice so you know I'm interjecting if I feel the need to at any point. I haven't even read this yet. I'm just trying to get it out to you. Here we go. The betting markets on the American primary elections show an 87% probability that Hillary Clinton will head the Democratic ticket and a 76% probability that Donald Trump will lead the Republicans. Between the two, Trump is the pro-Israel candidate. First, his daughter Ivanka is an observant Orthodox Jew after her conversion and marriage to Jared Kushner. The scion, is it scion or scion? Scion of a prominent family of Jewish philanthropists. Second, and most decisive, Trump feels no obligation to win favor among Muslims, proposing a temporary ban against any Muslim entering the United States. Hillary Clinton, by contrast, surrounded herself with advisors openly hostile to Israel and pondered covert funding for Palestinian civil disobedience to pressure the Israeli government. Rarely have Americans had such a clear choice between pro-Israel and not so pro-Israel candidates. Remarkably, the neoconservatives prefer Hillary Clinton. That should confuse the conspiracy theorists. A Google search produces 400,000 hits for the search terms neoconservative and Zionist. Yet, the leading neoconservatives say they won't vote for Trump under any circumstances. And one prominent neocon, Robert Kagan, has already declared for Hillary against Trump. Bill Kristol, the editor of the Weekly Standard and head of the Emergency Committee for Israel, by the way, I think Goldman needs to mention Gary Bauer, I think is co-head of it, and I think the chairman and the guy named, I'm blanking on his name, a younger guy, is the executive director. Anyhow, has declared that he would never vote for Trump under any circumstances, and so has longtime Republican official Peter Wehner. Kristol has said that he won't support Hillary, but threatens to mount a third-party effort if Trump is nominated, which would draw Republican votes away from Trump and help Clinton. Remarkably, Kristol's Emergency Committee for Israel is running a TV ad denouncing Trump for, quote, kissing up to anti-American dictators, an unusual use of funds by an organization founded to support Israel rather than support particular candidates, and especially unusual when it is directed against the pro-Israel candidate. Trump notoriously has said that America could work with Russia's Vladimir Putin against terrorists, and argued that toppling Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi benefited the terrorists. One cannot quite say that Trump paints with a broad brush, rather he throws the bucket of paint against the wall. But the neoconservatives' defining dogma is to undermine dictators and promote democracy. Trump's view is closer to that of the Israeli consensus. Israel is pragmatic, generally preferring the Arab dictatorships to the chaos that replaced them. Israel's relations with Russia are complex but generally good, especially in operational matters in Syria. For the most part, Trump is exactly correct. The Libyan adventure, backed vociferously by the neoconservatives as well as the Obama administration, turned Libya into a petri dish for terrorists. Imposing Shia majority rule in Iraq under the Bush administration turned Iraq into an Iranian satrapy. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Overthrowing Saddam Hussein as such was not the problem. Marginalizing Iraq's Sunnis prepared the ground for ISIS. Russia has far more to worry about from Islamic terrorism than the United States, and in theory might cooperate with Washington, even while opposing U.S. interests in other spheres. Again, I'm reading you. This just came out by David P. Goldman in Asia Times, atimes.com. It's called Note to Conspiracy Theorists, the Neoconservatives Aren't Zionists. And I'm continuing here. At the peak of their influence in 2004, Bill Kristol and Washington Post columnist Charles Krauthammer helped draft George W. Bush's second inaugural address, with its vision of global democracy under American tutelage. Since then, everything has gone pear-shaped. The prominence of Donald Trump, as well as Senator Ted Cruz, in part reflects the Republican Party's disgust with the neoconservatives' ideologically driven adventures. The Republican Party has rejected the neoconservatives, whose candidate, Marco Rubio, has a 15% chance of getting the nomination, according to the Iowa futures market, versus 76% for Trump. In return, the neoconservatives have rejected the Republican Party. Asian observers try to understand American politics in rational terms. When the chips are down, the neoconservative movement has nothing to do with American power, or with Mideast oil, or with Israel. It is a cult that believes that democratic institutions as such are the solution to the world's problems, and will continue to believe this no matter how much evidence accumulates to the contrary. It is a well-defined cult, with a network of academic gurus and a standard literature, including but not limited to the late Professor Leo Strauss. Like all cults, it bands together to defend its illusions against its enemies, even if those enemies are friends of Israel. One might call the neoconservatives the cult of rationalism. That is, they are obsessed by an irrational faith in rationalism and will do many manifestly irrational things to defend their obsession from the cruel depredations of the real world. They are also willing to throw Israel's interests under the bus. Full disclosure. This is David P. Goldman talking. I have made no secret of my dislike for Donald Trump. I object to his demagoguery about immigration. My dislike for the man doesn't prevent me from conceding that he is right about some things. For example, the blunders of the neoconservatives. If Clinton runs against Trump, I will vote for Trump without a second's hesitation, and for two reasons. First, as Peter Schweitzer reported in his book Clinton Cash, the Clintons are a criminal enterprise, selling American favor to benefit third world kleptocrats and their comprador cronies in return for 8-figure donations to the Clinton Foundation and fat payoffs and speaking fees in other forms. Trump is a sharp-elbowed businessman who knows how to work the system for political favors, but he's not a criminal. Second, Trump is more pro-Israel, and that's a key issue for me. Israel is not only America's key ally in a dodgy part of the world, but the cornerstone on which the edifice of the American Republic was founded in the first place. In a July 2015 essay from the Jewish media, I asked, will Israel save America? The destiny of Americans, the almost chosen people in Lincoln's words, is bound up with the destiny of Israel. Asian observers should try to understand that we Americans can be crazy. We are a nation founded on ideas rather than common language and ethnicity. And when we get the wrong idea, we go right off the rails. The decline of American power under the Bush and Obama administrations is not the result of grand historical forces or sociological trends. It's the result of ideological silliness on a grand scale. Again, that was a brand new essay by David P. Goldman responding to something that just happened. It can be found in Asia Times, atimes.com, and it's called Note to Conspiracy Theorists, the Neoconservatives Aren't Zionists.